I am recording.
Screen. Woohoo!
Good morning, Babs.
Good morning, Jeff. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Criminal Justice Insider.
With Babs Rolls Ivy.
And Jeff Grant.
Hey, Babs. Hey, Babs, how are you?
I am delighted this morning because I get to talk to you and to share the good news.
Oh, yeah, we're sharing the good news. And, well, first let's do our thanks to various
Yes.
organizations and people.
Thank you to the Community Foundation of Greater New Haven who make Criminal Justice Insider possible and accessible.
For all 4 seasons that
Thank you
we
very
have
much.
been on the air. What a gift to us.
Yes.
Oh, my God.
Thank you to Lynn Springer, the lovely, talented, and very beautiful Lynn Springer, for
Ooh.
her enduring support of us and you.
And Andrew Kaplan for the same, and of you.
I think we've covered our bases. And to Harry Droz, who rides shotgun for us for the last 4 years.
Harry, thank you, and thank you for all your help on this, Harry. It's been a wonderful ride, just great. Thank you.
That's just one of you running around with your
Ooh.
Democrats want it so bad.
Ooh, what's that coming in?
Okay. That's Joe Ugly show.
Yeah, something's bleeding in.
Okay, that's all right.
So, hey, Babs, hey, how you been? First of all, my condolences on the passing of your family.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. You're very
Yeah.
kind.
Mhm.
Sent me a note. Thank you.
Of course.
Yeah, that was a little traumatic, but
Yeah.
life moves on and we move on. And
But you and your sister went down North Carolina and all?
my brother, yes,
Your brother.
took a nice drive down to Winston-Salem and got down there. I gave the remarks and we jumped back on the road the next day.
Well, it's nice to have you back.
Thank you very much. How
So
are
this, me, I'm kind of on top
On
of the
cloud
world.
nine.
I'm on cloud 9. This has been a lot of work. I mean, I know I told you about it a little while ago, but well, why don't you do an introduction, then we'll kind of get into it.
So listen, so Jeff Grant got his law license reinstated, which is a big damn deal. And to all the people that I spoke to about this, because people were calling me about you, Jeff, and they were like, oh my God. And people were, the main thing that people said was, this will give hope to so many people who think that, the end is just the end. And I never believe the end is the end.
Yeah.
So Jeff got his law license reinstated, and that's no easy feat. And it took about 3 years of your time in your
Exactly
life
3 years. Yeah.
to apply and to put it all together and jump through their hoops and wait.
There's a lot of hurry up and wait. You know how that is.
Hurry up and wait.
Yeah.
So, all right. So take us back. So when you lost your law license, I know you weren't thinking, oh, someday I'll be a lawyer again. You just thought it's over.
Well, on the day I resigned my law license, I tried to kill myself. So, I mean, that was the day of my suicide attempt. So there wasn't much hope or thinking that I was ever going back into law. That's for sure. but I also didn't know that it was the, start of a whole new journey, it was like one life was over and a new life was beginning, but there was like no way to really know that then, Babs. It was just, I was operating in, from that day forward, like kind of in survival mode.
Mm-hmm.
And this is my story. Basically, I went to rehab and I started in recovery. And this summer I celebrate 19 years of sobriety. So that's
wow.
Yeah, that's a cool thing. Yeah,
My goodness.
That's a cool thing. And frankly, if anybody asks, people ask all the time, especially like if I'm lecturing at colleges, or they always ask, like, what are the things, what are the takeaways, what did you learn? And there's really three things. So we'll just start with that, so that can kind of frame things. The first thing is I found sobriety, because I was really deep in. And sobriety is what I hold at the center of my spirituality, through all the becoming a reverend and my faith journey. It's still recovery and sobriety are the center of my universe. The second thing is what I learned, and I didn't know back then, and which created a lot of the anxiety and the issues I was having, was I've learned to live within my means. What a disease that is, for people who are.
I exactly know exactly what you mean.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And somehow spending more money is going to make us happy, or that one thing that we need to acquire. And of course it becomes 10 things, becomes 100 things, and life spirals out of control. And so what a gift that is. And that's a message, I want to give a lot of young people as they're starting out, like I wish I knew earlier, just live more modestly, save money, put money aside for the important things, kids' educations, everything collapsed on me. And the third thing I learned, which was critical, is that who you marry is the most important decision of your life. The most important decision. And I got very, very lucky.
And sometimes it takes a couple of times to get it right.
Sometimes more than that. I'm Lynn's third husband.
Oh, I did not know that.
Oh yeah.
Well, a woman of that caliber and beauty,
She I got very lucky, because that she's way out of my league, and so the fact that she taught me a lot that I didn't know, about how to live and be respectful and be a gentleman, and how to be compassionate and empathetic. I didn't know any of these things. I was just, I was a bull. I was a bull in a china shop, which kind of served in this weird way being a lawyer, but what I didn't know, Babs, and we're kind of starting with the lessons and work our way out. What I didn't really know was that, that's no way to run your life.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I kind of sort of had to do some of that stuff as a professional, it's not competition all the time. It's not like people wrestling for a piece of meat. It's okay. Like, we can actually add value to the world. Yeah. Wish everybody well.
These are some good lessons. Like, these are really good lessons that are not unique or new or anything, but the fact that you learned them and then you didn't refuse them, right? Because you could have refused them.
It took a bunch of years, for things to start to seep in, and so it's, it's with that understanding and the gratitude of having been to prison and come out of that and learned the lessons of that, and been in recovery and been in ministry, and now to be given this opportunity to serve in a better or new way, not better, but a new way, that because for the last 10 years or so, I've been in ministry, really serving the criminal justice community. And I get asked legal questions all the time. You know, everyone knew what I did and how the kind of law I was practicing, where I was basically, a problem solver. And people would ask me legal questions all the time, and I would have to say, look, I can't give you legal advice. But in a way, that's what they needed. You know, and I really found this kind of hole in the market where.
So when did you know? So with all of that, and you are fielding questions and refusing to answer questions and saying, you know, I can't do that.
Mhm.
When did you wake up and say, you know what, I'm gonna apply for my license?
Well,
But reapply for, however way you do that. Like, when did you know you were gonna do that? Like, what was the climate for that?
it really started 6 years ago when I sunk into a depression that you know about. Of course, you know about it. And at the time, I didn't know what that depression was about, but it was really the fact that I hadn't let go of a lot. I really hadn't mourned my past. There were a lot of the junk was still in there. And I'm sure some of it was chemical. I've talked before, that being bipolar has just, its own challenges. But that summer when I was depressed, I came out of it thinking, I can't be a people pleaser anymore. I just can't live. Although I want to be of service to other people, I can't live to please other people. I have to find my way in this world myself. And I didn't know if I was ever going to be employable again. I didn't know what was going on. My whole life was kind of tossed up and down. I was certainly on a ministry path, but within a year of that depression, the next summer, in fact, at Family Reentry, they had asked me to become their executive director and CEO. And so that was kind of a crazy thing to kind of go from, being a formerly incarcerated person to become the CEO of a really respectful organization and to lead, over 100 people. And there was a budget of almost $5 million there. And, we're pretty well known in Connecticut, I think, maybe very well known. And so I did that for a couple of years, and it kind of restored my self-esteem. It was a weird, it's like, I didn't even know that I had self-esteem that needed to be restored. It's like, I didn't even know how on the wrong side of that I was. But I'm glad you're mentioning it in terms of the people who reached out to you, because the truth is that any sign of hope for justice impacted people is something that we have to cling to. This is my opinion. And there's a lot of good examples out there. There are, and they've been on the show. That was the purpose of this show.
Yes.
But
yes.
But back then, I found it kind of hard to attach to myself, even though we were already doing the show. So when the run at Family Reentry came to an end, I had a chance to sit back and say, well, how can I be of best service to our community? And I knew that it was going to take 3 years or so to get my law license back if they would have me. And I certainly didn't know that. So I went to see an old friend of mine who was a ethics attorney in White Plains. And I laid everything out to him and I said, what are my chances? And what he said to me was, which was, such a beautiful thing for him to say to me, he said, if not you, then who? I mean, if anybody could get their license reinstated, it should be you. You've done the work. And it was hard for me to even look at myself as someone, Babs, who was worthy. It's a weird thing. You know what it is to go through the things we've gone through. And I had to battle through that, but mostly what it was just, lay out the process. Here's what I had to do. So it took about 6 months to get the papers together, and we submitted the papers, and it was like, submit, wait, submit more, wait. And then last May of 2020, during the pandemic, I had my hearing over video, which was weird, you know. In a way, maybe it was a blessing, actually, because I didn't have to go down to the city and I have to go all that anxiety and all. But I had the hearing in May, and then in October, I heard that the character committee had recommended my reinstatement, and which was unbelievable day.
Mhm.
And then literally every weekday at 4:00 for the next 6 months, I would open up on my phone, I would open up the decisions for the appellate division, second department, to see if my name was on the list. And every single day I would have to say to Lynn, my name's not on the list. And it was driving us nuts. And then on May 5th, I looked at it and there was my name, you know, in the little phone. And and then I opened it, and there it was. It said that my license has been reinstated effective immediately. So I'm already reading it, and I'm already a lawyer again at that point since that morning. So I ran upstairs and printed it out because I figured I would show Lynn. And it just so happens that Lynn and my stepdaughter, Skylar, were on FaceTime together. And I walked in holding a piece of paper, walked into the kitchen, and Skylar saw me walk in with a piece of paper, and she just knew hit record. And so she hit record, and I slipped it under Lynn, and she saw it, and Lynn started freaking out, like, you know, doing a dance in the kitchen and everything else. And that was the video I sent you of Lynn freaking out as she was reading it. And
That's
so,
joy.
yeah, and that's kind of like, you know, encapsulated the story. So that kind of brings us up to date to May 5th anyway.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's such a, I mean, so was it a relief, or was it bittersweet, or?
I would say that the primary emotion was relief and release. You know, there's a lot riding on it. It wasn't like I had a plan B.
Mhm.
You know, this is like what I want to do for the rest of my life. I want to minister, and I want to help people as a lawyer. And
Mhm.
I was all in, and I didn't even know if I could handle the rejection.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? It was
Okay.
like, what
Yeah.
if it goes the other way? I mean, it's up to, you know, 3
If it goes the
judges.
other way, you reapply, right?
Well, I could reapply, but I don't even know if I could handle a rejection. You know, it's up to
Okay.
3 lawyers in Brooklyn who get to decide. I mean, 3 judges in Brooklyn. And, you know, I was blessed. I'm blessed. And I know what this means to our community. I mean, it's not just me, but, you know, just anytime something good happens that's life affirming and hopeful, it's important for our community. And I knew right away that I had to even be more careful, more thorough, more respectful,
Mhm.
because, you know, there's a pretty harsh light shining on people who have felonies and have been to prison.
Yeah.
And here I am now. So for an example, here's an example, Babs, because you know the way my brain works, right?
I do.
An Old Navy opened up near where I live, okay? Because we live up in Litchfield County now. And so an Old Navy opened up. And on camera, you can't tell if this is like an Old Navy shirt or like a $300 shirt, right? You can't tell, right? But Old Navy is running a sale.
For those that don't know, Jeff is a closeted fashionista.
Oh yeah, as long as you can get it at Goodwill, I'm a fashionista. So I went to Old Navy and I bought every one of these shirts they had there in my size. Because, you know, they don't, you know, in the size runs, they don't carry the big ones, that many of the big ones. And I figured I'm never going to find them again. And they were on sale. So what I said is, all right, so now on Zoom, I got to be at least dressed properly. You know, I'm like,
Mhm.
and it's not that I won't wear a t-shirt if I'm on a personal call, but I feel like I represent something for our community. You know, I want to be respectful, and I want all of us to be taken seriously. And to the extent that I'm an ambassador of that, you know, if it took getting shirts for $12.99 at Old Navy, I was going to do it. I was going to do it.
All right, so you got this good news. What do you do with it? What have you done with it so far? I mean, I kind of know, but I don't know all the details. So
Well,
what do you do with this news?
Well, there's so many aspects to this, Babs, that I hope, you know, I'm going to try to explain it in a way that people will understand. So I'll just talk to you straightforward. I knew I've been planning this for a long time, but I couldn't get too concrete with it. But I knew I wanted to, I'm licensed in the state of New York, and I can practice in federal courts around the country, but I'm not licensed in Connecticut. So I had to open up in New York. And so the decision to open up in Manhattan was important to me. I mean, that's where my firm started out. And that's in 1982, by the way. So just let you know, this is 39 years later. I've learned hopefully I've learned a few things along the way. And it also had to be in a situation where I didn't have to be there all the time. And it just so happens that the city bar has a program for people who live in the suburbs and exurbs, where they have a law facilities there. So I joined their virtual law firm. That's basically what it is. It's called the City Bar Virtual Law Firm. But there are offices there, and there are conference rooms, and they take in the mail, and they do the phone and all of that, and it's right near Grand Central. So anytime I want, I can go there and I can meet clients there. But also in the virtual age, you know, it's basically a virtual existence now.
Mm-hmm.
Something we have experience with, having you know, run certainly our Criminal Justice Insider, but also having run now 260 white collar support group meetings on Monday nights in a row. Thank God for the technology, because oh my God, like people who are living in isolation and despair, and they're afraid all over in these little pockets all over the country, we can invite into a meeting and into an office, basically into a virtual office. So we've been doing that. And I thought, this is the way of the world, and it's an extension of that. So let me open up an office in New York. And so you know, there's expense related to that, obviously, but mostly I'll be able to communicate with people virtually. So it was the process of putting together resources and connections, and because the ministry and now my practice is spread out throughout the country. I have to have local lawyer relationships with people with lawyers in major financial centers, LA, San Francisco, Chicago. I'm trying to think who I have online already. Everywhere in the metro area. Connecticut is easy because I know the people here. And so I'm already representing a bunch of people.
Really?
Oh yeah, it's crazy because this news, like, just.
I almost want to say, boy, if I commit a crime, I'm calling you, but that's not what you're going to do. So
Well,
I'd have to already commit a crime, come out, and then call you.
No. Actually, the earlier.
I'm not committing a crime.
No. I understand. No, but the earlier in the curve, the earlier point of entry, the better, because basically what I'm serving as is private general counsel. So this is the hole in the market that I experienced and I learned. Because criminal defense lawyers are they're either great or they're not great. You know, it's luck of the draw pretty much. You don't necessarily know who you're going to for the most part. Someone gets arrested. The process of finding a lawyer is not very scientific. They call their friend, they call their brother-in-law, they call their orthodontist, whoever they call, and everyone says, "Oh, you got to call this guy," and so they call a lawyer, and the lawyer gets him in there and becomes their criminal defense lawyer. But there's no way to figure out if that's the right lawyer for you, or if you're going to get along with that lawyer, or his experiences or her experiences is appropriate for you. And then 3 months later, there's a lot of buyer's remorse, or even 2 years later, there's a lot of buyer's remorse. Like if you went up to a camp where a lot of white collar people go, they're kind of sitting around, they're all talking about the decisions they made regarding their lawyers and how their expectations were met, or if they were not managed right. And I know this from my own personal experience, but also in the ministry, this is a lot of what we talk about, and also providing the whole panoply of services that people need. Because, you know, when you get arrested, it's not like you just have a criminal issue. You have business issues, you have real estate issues, you have divorce issues, you have bankruptcy issues, tax issues, all kinds of issues.
All the issues.
All issues that your issues didn't even know about. But if all your resources, you know, have been expended specifically for one of those issues, and it's a big one, I'm not saying that to take it lightly, who's handling and giving you guidance as to all of the other things? And if any of these things fall, it can be a major catastrophe.
Yeah.
So what I thought about is that where I would really like people to be is 10 years later, because if anyone's going through criminal justice issues, it could take you a decade to enter and to exit, and then to kind of find some kind of normalcy on the other side of it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Right. So it could be a decade, but almost everyone I speak to, including you, including me, a decade later winds up saying, well, if I had known then what I know now, I would have made different decisions.
Yeah.
Right. But there are people who have that experience. There are people who can actually help guide you. And that's part of what the ministry has been about. But now that I am a licensed attorney again, I can actually help people with all of that information. And then sometimes that means hiring specialty lawyers on their behalf, basically serving as their private general counsel. Let's look at all the problems, figure them all out, how the resources, time, energy, money, everything should be spent to best serve you, and not to have you kind of be a victim of the system.
I think you're absolutely right, Jeff, because I think people don't understand that part. People just think, well, particularly, I mean, I know this from white collar experience. There is a missing piece. People just think, well, you'll know what to do, but you won't. And you have a house, you'll get to, I mean, I had a house, I got divorced. I mean, I had all these things going on all at the same time. And there was no one to sort of advise me. I just sort of had to, like, one foot in front of the other and deal with what I could deal with as I was going through it. You know what I mean? But I had children and the whole nine. So it would have been a huge blessing to have. And my attorney was amazing. Like, I have one of the best attorneys in the damn country.
I know your lawyer. He's right? Fantastic. Yeah. But he does
general, right. He's like doing this part of it. He's not, listen, Babs, I'm not, you know, your bankruptcy, losing your house, your divorce. I don't do that. He didn't say that to me, but I knew he didn't do that, right?
Try going to your lawyer and saying, listen, I'm feeling really emotionally upset.
Right. And I could have with him because we have that kind of relationship, but that's not his, you know, I'm the exception to that, right? Like, everybody's not going to get that. So this is huge.
I think the single biggest issue is that for the most part, when people are arrested, most people, they are, you know, they have experience, they're smart, they're talented. Some people are just caught up in the system. Some people, there's all kinds of different reasons why. Sometimes you're the subject of injustice. There's all kinds of reasons you get arrested, but you still come to it with who you are. And so why is it that people, when they get arrested, they make spectacularly terrible decisions?
Yeah.
And the reason is because they're in trauma. Like it's a shock to your system, and it could take years to come out of that trauma. And so I'm in this trauma. I can't trust my brain. I have distorted perceptions, distorted thinking. I don't know who to trust. And yet I have to make the most important decisions of my life. How nuts is that? And if you don't make good ones, the difference between, doing a little bit of time or doing a lot of time or getting probation or doing some time or all these issues that have to do with divorces and children, everything else, it can be an unmitigated disaster.
Right. Right.
And here's another big one, because the issue of children is such a huge one. It's so huge because you have these little people that you're responsible for, but you might have to be separated from. If you're not thinking clearly, right? People become very self-absorbed when they're arrested or they get into this kind of an issue. It doesn't necessarily have to be criminal justice related, but if you're in trauma, who's watching out for the kids?
I mean, I was extremely lucky. I had a whole community of folks, and I wasn't arrested. Like I wasn't perp walked or any of that stuff,
Mhm.
right? They treated me, very, very, very well and very, very. So I didn't have to do any of that perp walk stuff and handcuffs, and I didn't do any of that. But I had a community. But oftentimes people don't have community. They don't have people that could step in. I mean, when I was in Danbury, I met so many women who, had to leave their children behind with people who weren't family, and
Yeah.
and some had to go into foster care. And I mean, it was just it's very difficult and challenging. And your hands are and once you get behind bars, Jeff, there's no, your access to the outside. You have no control over, any of that.
You know,
It's
you,
just
you
like,
know, back in Criminal Justice Insider season 1, all right, so we had on Amy Smoyer and Jackie Lucibello. Remember them?
yes, I do.
Right. From the New Haven Women's Resettlement Working Group.
Yes.
How
Yes.
did I get that close? Am I close?
Yeah, I think you did. I think you did.
Right. And they were talking about the difficulties of having children, having a baby daddy involved, maybe, and how when women would come out of prison, that some of their family members were considered victims. And so they couldn't even live with their own family
Yeah.
because, and so this is such a pervasive problem that really needs to be thought through carefully, because you can't rely upon the system to do the right thing. It's not like they're coming out and they go, "Oh, Jeffrey, yeah, hey, guess what? Congratulations on coming out of prison. Here's a key to the city." I don't know about
Can't
you.
even get a key to the men's room, for heaven's sake.
I don't know about you, but there was no brass band waiting for me.
No, are you kidding me? There was, it was dark.
Yeah. For a long time, right? For a long time.
For like a decade.
Yeah.
I mean, you were right. I mean, and I served so little time, but the ramifications of that, still, the outcome was still the same. I mean, it was a long time coming back.
So when we're in our support group meetings, for example, there's a lot of people who can't find jobs, and we can tell each other. It's not like I'm preaching from on high, but we tell each other that so much of this is in our own brains. We are our own biggest limiting step. And I still believe that. I believe that. I mean, there are a lot of limitations for people who are coming home from prison or have felonies. There are a lot. And I don't mean to diminish it. But what I've learned for me is that my own fear was the biggest single problem. And one of
Yeah.
one of those issues was what I didn't know how to do is I didn't know how to manage, or I was afraid of risk. I was afraid, like, you know, like I was afraid of money. And that's one of the issues, you know, like I was afraid, like, so long as I'm in nonprofit world, or so long I'm in ministry world, I don't really have to worry about money because there is no money. Right. And so how do you actually feed your family? How do you take care of your children? How do you, right? Like, if you're afraid of money, because if you have your self-esteem and you do a good job, most people, I would imagine most people are able to, like, have a negotiation with their employer. I'm worth X, you know, if I'm worth X. And if you don't think so, I'll go get a job somewhere else. Right. But if you've been to prison or you're a felon and you really don't think that, well, one, if you have a self-worth issue, which I did and probably still do on some levels, and two, you don't think that you can get another job, then you're kind of handcuffed to the situation you're in and become an under earner. And
Yeah, that's the
and
truth. And I think for me, Jeff, I was just so afraid to take another executive level job.
mm,
Like I just didn't want to. Like I just didn't want to be in the limelight of that. So I stayed under the
for
radar and underpaid for decades
yeah, a
because
long time.
I didn't want to. And you know, I've got skills and degrees and all this, and I just didn't want to have to put it out there. I just didn't,
Well,
you
I
know.
have news for you, Babs. The chairman of the board of the New Haven Arts Council is not an invisible job.
Well, now I don't have a problem, you know. I don't. But a decade ago, it would have been, 20 years ago, it would have been it was, I was afraid
Yeah.
and
So
still ashamed,
yeah, of course. Yeah.
you
And
know.
that's the thing. So what would it be to actually have these kind of resources available? Can we even
I
hear it?
know.
But can we even hear
Wow.
it? Can we listen? I mean, it's like
Yeah.
so many mistakes I had to make myself. You know, there were people telling me, slow down, don't get so big, you know, hire a financial planner. There were people who said, you know, here's an example. So now it's maybe 3 weeks after I tried to commit suicide, and I'm sitting in rehab, and I'm now off of prescription opioids, which I was on for about 10 years, and I'm on some proper medication. I mean, actual appropriately prescribed medication, and my brain is starting to unfog. And my best friends, my like lifelong best friends, came to visit, and they're sitting there, and we're talking, and I said to them, "Why didn't you ever tell me I was crazy? Why didn't you ever tell me I was acting crazily? Why didn't you tell me, like, you know, you're taking too many of these prescription drugs? Why didn't you tell me?" And Babs, they looked at me and they said to me, "Jeffrey, we must have told you 100 times." I said, "You did?" I didn't remember one. And so there's a real problem, and it's not just that the help isn't there. There is some help out there. The question is, do you
Are you ready
recognize,
to hear it?
right?
Yeah.
And do you recognize the kind of trauma you're in? And if you don't, then that's probably the biggest sign to slow down.
So this puts you in a good place to be general counsel to somebody or to folks, because you can clearly identify what they're going through, and you could see the warning signs, and you could say, listen, I've sat on this other side where you are, and X, Y, and Z, and I'm sitting here because I can tell you this is where I think you're headed. This is where I think you're, you know, if you don't turn this around, and you got to figure this out, and help them figure it out, right?
Mhm.
Because that's
And,
the missing link with people
and I've worked with over 500 people personally
already, right? Like
already.
you've already,
Right. And the reason I'm mentioning it is not because it's like a resume builder. You know, the reason I'm mentioning it is because I knew nothing about myself. You know, I didn't recognize the holes in my character. I didn't recognize who I had hurt. I didn't recognize the limitations in my willingness to depend upon other people.
Mhm.
But through their eyes, I saw it. I mean, how many years did it take of working with other people before I said, wait a second, that's me. I went, I'm giving advice to people, but I'm not taking the advice. You know, maybe that's just a human experience. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I am grateful to be in a position now where I don't have to I don't have to pull on the reins. I don't have to slam on the brakes. I can really give people the information that they need. And
Yeah. Yeah. I'm telling you, when I got that news, I was like, you know what? I should just go to law school so I could join Jeff. Well, I could do 3 years of my life. I could do it. And then I
you
was like, no,
should.
no, I'm not doing that. That's no, Norm told me that too. He's like, I'll hire you. Go to law school and come out and I'll hire you. It crossed my mind. And then I was like, no.
Yeah,
It's a little late it's a
yeah,
little late in the
yeah,
game for
yeah,
that.
you know,
No, it's never too late, but that's not where my talents
yeah,
are right
yeah,
now.
you know, here's the truth. I went to seminary. I went to Union Theological Seminary, as you know. I went there for 3 years, but I went there 27 years after I graduated law school.
Wow.
And it was so much harder than law school. So much harder. And I'm not saying
all
law
that
school.
God talk.
I'm not saying that law school is a walk in the park. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm telling you, if you go to contracts class, at least you know you're in contracts class. Like something we read here is going to be about contracts.
Contract.
It's not going to be about torts. It's not going to be about criminal law. This class is about contracts, at least as a frame of reference. In seminary, oh my God, I went to systematic theology, right? Two semesters of systematic theology. I defy you to explain what systematic theology is. It's almost 15 years later. I have no idea what systematic theology is. At least I kind of knew what a contract was when I went, right? It's like at least it's on a box top or something. I at least know what a contract is.
Right.
I
Right.
think.
Right. No. So so you hung out your shingle
Mhm.
and you are making connections with other folks that are doing crises management of some sort.
Well, I wouldn't pretend that this isn't like a big deal at least in the white collar community, probably in the criminal justice community, but I've spoken to a lot of other people who've been admitted to law as a felon, or people who've been to prison. I've spoken to a lot of them now. I've reached out, they've reached out to me. And there is a difference between having a felony and then applying to a law school or applying to the bar. There's a difference between that and having lost your law license and being reinstated.
Mhm.
You know, the only reason I believe that I could get reinstated is because of all the work that had been put into opening the doors to the legal profession to people who had a felony. So we've had Dwayne Betts on our show, for
Yeah,
example.
and he's a good example of somebody. I mean, Yale Law,
Mhm.
trying to pass the bar in Connecticut for a long time,
Yep.
and finally got to do it.
And he was a trailblazer, and there's many trailblazers.
Yes.
You know, Chris Poulos, Tara Simmons. You know, we know a lot of them,
Yeah.
but both who have been on our shows too. But they hadn't lost their law license because of breach of trust.
Right.
So I had to evidence a certain rebuilding of character that had to be plain as day in the record. It's not like I could talk my way through it. The record had to reveal it. And,
Like, we just not going to trust what you say, Jeff. What have you done?
but what did have to happen is I had to tell my story. So luckily I'd written a lot, you know, I mean, obviously being out there has helped speaking about it. And I've written a bunch of it, bits and pieces, but I had to tell the whole story, and I had to tell it in a motion for reinstatement. I mean, get up to paragraph section 36. Here's my story. And I start to write it. And what I decided to do was just tell them everything. Like, just let go of the outcome, and whatever it is, because I'm done with trying to manufacture an outcome. You know, I'm trying to shade people. I guess I'll do it for clients, but I wouldn't do it for myself. And I wrote 14,000 words. That's a big section of emotion. I mean, 14,000 words is like 60 pages of a novel.
Yeah,
right.
It is.
Yeah. And there was something cathartic about it. You know, there was something really freeing, because I'm just laying my whole life out, and either accept me or not. But at least it won't be for lack of having told the truth, told the whole story. So I'm grateful that I had some examiners, because I had to go through a formal hearing, and Babs, they were so kind. I mean, they were tough, but they were not out to tank me. Or at least it was obvious they weren't out to tank me. They could have tanked me. I don't know. Who knows, right? It still had to go to the whole committee for a vote. But you know, I had to let the record speak for itself.
Mm-hmm. So you got clients?
I got clients. I got clients. But so many of the things were frightening. Like even opening a bank account. Try to open a bank account, folks. As you know, try to open a bank account when you have a felony. You don't even know if the bank's.
I see. I didn't have. I mean, I never. My stuff stayed exactly the same, so I didn't have that issue.
There are people whose bank accounts are just. They get a letter from the bank and they say 30. You know, within 30 days we're going to close your account. Come get your money out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because you're a felon.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
See, that should not. You know what? That should not be the consequence.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm telling you, it happens to a lot of people. So I remember the first time I went to lease a car, and I was sitting there with Lynn, and we went looking for a car, and we kind of found a car, you know, what we could afford at the time, which wasn't much, and so this guy, the salesman's behind his computer, and the salesman, they got to talk to their manager. You know, I'm negotiating. I got, let me run that by the manager. Let me run that by the finance manager. They just give him, but they're staring at my credit score, and they're staring at things, and it's frightening. My God. And I'm sitting I'm in front of my wife is next to me. What if they say to me, I'm sorry, sir, we can't give you a loan, or we can't allow you to lease a car. I would have, the risking of failure, the risking of rejection is right there. And it's been that way every step along the way, opening up law firm bank accounts.
That's a good point, Jeff, that I don't think people understand or realize that failure is at every step you take when you come out. That's why my heart goes out to to folks who, who come out, because we've been out a long time, but folks who are coming out and they've got, I don't think people realize how many things that you are up against
Mm.
just on a daily basis just to get through the day, right? Like just to live like a normal person.
You see, that's why I admire people like Dwayne Betts. There's a perfect example. And and because I'm always comparing my insides with other people's outsides. Right? I Everyone's successful. You look at someone like Dwayne and he's like, he's setting the world on
He's
fire.
a
He's an
professor,
incredible,
he's a writer, he's a poet.
all kinds of things. He's published, but he'll talk about his frailty. He writes about his frailty,
Yeah.
you know? And so I mean he's keeping it real. And but
As we do.
but I don't want to keep it real.
Oh.
You know what I mean? It's like I have to keep it real, but isn't there like a vacation from this? Isn't there, can't we like have a vacation from having to keep it real all the time? And the answer is no, there's not. And especially now, because I'm charged with other people's lives in my hands.
Yeah.
I've got to be awake and aware and present.
Yeah. Yeah, you do.
Yep. And,
yes, you do.
And that's what I thank God for is
does that give you an added pressure? Do you feel like, oh Lord?
Well, it's been that way in the ministry for a bunch of years and a lot of years.
Okay.
So it's not like it's new, but the critical decision-making path is different, because what happens is that now it's people who are right on that point, right on that point where you make a good decision, things can go well. You make a bad decision, things not so well.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I'm grateful that I can give emotional support to people, and I never want to be divorced from spiritual lawyering, but there are real decisions to be made, and right now, and somebody in the relationship has got to be sober. Somebody's got to be right there on point, and it can't be the person who's going through it because they're in trauma. So
yes.
So what are they going to do? So,
yes.
What a gift to be of service and to be available and to be mindful and present for people and to be trusted, because in order to be trusted, I have to behave in a trustworthy fashion. There's a duality.
Yes. So, so as we wrap this up, because this is our last show for the summer, we break for the summer.
Season 4 in the can.
Yeah, I think we'll talk sometime over the summer about season 5
mm-hmm.
and what we might want to do. But
mm-hmm.
where do you see yourself with this newfound calling? I mean, it's an old calling, but a new layer to the calling.
Yeah.
Where do you want this to go? I mean, is it a big dream? What's the bigger picture for you and this new relational commitment to helping this community?
It's kind of both things at once. It always has been, but there's the very small and then there's the macro, right? The very small is to have the intimacy with people who are living on the edge. That's the very small, intimate piece, the lean in and be there, be present. But on a bigger level, it's really an opportunity for advocacy. We need issues. We need pardon reform. We need access to vital services. We need, just yesterday, for example, the Connecticut House passed the free prison phone calls bill. So now it's just heading for Governor Lamont's signature. And on our show, we've been part of that for years now, and we've had advocates on, Josh Elliott and Bianca Tylik and Venice Michelson and Tahiba Bain. And if I'm not mentioning your name, I apologize. This is an opportunity to shout out. This is a huge victory that we as a team and as a community took on. And the payoff is right now, but you had to have vision 3 or 4 years ago in order for that to happen. So I do view this as another opportunity for bigger vision, and we'll see where it goes.
Okay. All right. I'm very proud of you.
I'm proud of you. I'm proud of us, frankly, Babs.
I'm just proud of you because
Yeah.
I know what this took,
Yep.
and I know what this means.
Yeah.
For you and for us and for everybody in
And-
this community.
And I have a new website.
Oh my God. You know what? Jeff is the queen. Jeff is the queen of social media. He will get things right.
So it's grantlaw.com.
Mhm.
Okay. And people say to me, Grant Law, how is that available? How was that domain available? And the answer is, okay, here's a secret, folks. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to let you in on my secret. I've been paying for that domain for 20 years since my law firm,
Whoa.
just in case, just to hold out in case I ever decide to get my law license back. So for $9 a year, I have kept grantlaw.com open. And so now there's a website there. And of course it connects to the ministry website, prisonist.org too. So
I love it.
Yep.
I love it.
All the information's there.
I love it. All right, so grantlaw.com, that's so easy, it rolls off the tongue. And so that's a good thing. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. So thank you, Jeff, for letting me have this conversation with you this morning.
Thank you, Babs. You know I love you, and
I love you too.
thank you to.
And when we
community-
gather, we have to celebrate.
Oh yeah, we're gonna celebrate.
Yes,
All
we
right.
have to. There has to be some celebrate. I mean, we've celebrated for less. So
Well, we're gonna have you and Andrew up for a barbecue. That's what we're gonna
yes,
do.
I'm. Listen, I'm ready. I
Oh,
will
yeah.
bring whatever, and
Post-pandemic barbecue. We're gonna do it.
yes, post-pandemic barbecue.
All right,
Thank
my
you so
love.
much.
Thank
Love
you.
you.
Thank you, Community Foundation of Greater New Haven, Lynn Springer, Andrew Kaplan, and my partner, Babs. Thank you.
You're my joy, Jeff. I will
Thank
see
you.
you soon.
Love you, babe.
All right, people, I'm gonna run over to my other show at 10 o'clock, but we'll be back in September.
We will.
Okay. Thank you, Harry.
Thank you, Harry.
You don't have any music? We need music, outgoing music. Harry's must be